The sun is getting lower now, and its warm orange light is sliding across the rooftops of one of the busiest medieval cities in the world. If you thought people in the Middle Ages spent their evenings in peaceful silence, well, tonight is going to change your mind. Take a slow breath and imagine you are standing just outside the city walls. Behind you are fields, small farms, and winding dirt roads. Ahead of you rises a forest of stone towers, wooden houses, church spires, and thick walls that protect thousands of people living close together. The city never truly sleeps. It simply changes its rhythm. As you walk toward the gate, the air is filled with sounds from every direction. Wooden wagon wheels bump over rough roads. Horses snort and stamp their feet after a long day of pulling heavy carts. Farmers call to one another while hurrying along with baskets full of vegetables, eggs, and sacks of grain. Nobody wants to be caught outside when the city gates close. The guards at the entrance are already watching the road carefully. They know sunset is coming, and once those great wooden gates swing shut, anyone left outside may have to spend a night in the open. That is not an exciting adventure, unless you happen to enjoy sleeping next to mosquitoes and wondering if wolves have dinner plans. You step through the gate just in time. Inside, the streets are crowded, but something is changing. The busy rush of the daytime market is slowly coming to an end. Merchants begin packing away their goods. A cloth seller carefully folds colorful fabrics before placing them into large wooden chests. A potter stacks clay bowls one by one, hoping none crack before tomorrow morning. The fish seller is eager to leave before the smell gets any worse. To be fair, the fish have also had a very long day. Shopkeepers shout out one final offer. Last chance. Fresh bread. Best apples in the market. Whether they are actually the best apples is another question. Every apple seller seems completely certain of it. Children weave between the adults, chasing each other through the narrow streets. Their laughter mixes with the chatter of neighbors who stop for one last conversation before heading home. Friends exchange news. Travelers ask for directions. A blacksmith finishes striking his hammer against glowing iron, each loud clang echoing between the buildings. The streets themselves are narrow, and most houses are built close together. Many upper floors stretch outward over the road below, almost reaching toward each other. Because of this, every sound seems to bounce around instead of disappearing. A barking dog in one alley can sound like 3 barking dogs. As daylight begins to fade, another sound rises above everything else. The church bells, deep, steady, impossible to ignore. Their voices roll across the rooftops like waves. For the people living here, bells are more than background noise. They are the city's clock, calendar, news station, and emergency warning system all at once. Even if you cannot see the church, you always know it is there. The evening bells tell everyone that the day is ending. Some people stop what they're doing and quietly say a prayer. Others simply walk a little faster. There is still plenty to do before darkness fully arrives. Smoke begins curling upward from hundreds of chimneys. Almost every home is lighting its evening fire. Soon the smell of roasting onions, fresh bread, boiling stew, and burning wood fills the air. It is surprisingly comforting, even if every few streets another smell reminds you that medieval sanitation was still a work in progress. Open windows let cooking smells drift outside. They also let every conversation escape into the street. Someone laughs loudly. A baby begins crying. A mother calls everyone inside for supper. Somewhere nearby, a husband insists he chopped enough firewood. Judging by the reply he receives, someone strongly disagrees. As you continue walking, you notice animals are everywhere. A pair of pigs wander along the edge of the street, searching for scraps that people have dropped. Chickens peck at the dirt without any concern for crowds around them. A tired donkey slowly carries heavy bundles toward a stable, while several horses drink noisily from a public trough. Modern cities often separate people and animals. A medieval city does not believe in such complicated ideas. Everyone shares the same streets. As the sunlight fades into soft shades of purple and blue, the city guards begin preparing for one of the most important moments of the evening, closing the gates. The giant wooden doors are thick, heavy, and reinforced with iron bands. It takes several men working together to move them. Their deep groaning creak fills the entrance as they slowly swing inward. Late arrivals hurry toward the opening. One merchant waves desperately while pulling a stubborn mule. Another traveler runs with a backpack bouncing against his shoulders. The guards shout for everyone to move faster. Once the gates close, they stay closed until morning unless something very unusual happens. With one final push, the enormous doors meet in the middle. Boom! The sound echoes through the nearby streets. Large wooden beams are lowered into place, locking everything securely. The city is now sealed for the night. Inside the walls, thousands of people settle into their evening routines. Outside, the roads become quiet, empty, and much more uncertain. But do not imagine that silence has arrived. Not even close. If anything, the city is only warming up. The market may have ended, but taverns are filling with cheerful voices. Families are gathering around their fires. Bakers are already thinking about tomorrow's bread. Watchmen prepare for long hours on dark streets. Dogs begin answering one another from opposite neighborhoods, as if they are holding a very serious meeting. Above it all, the last light of the sun disappears behind the rooftops. Tiny stars slowly appear in the sky. Torches flicker to life along busy streets. The night has officially begun. And as you are about to discover, the loudest hours of a medieval city are still waiting ahead. The city gates are closed now. The last streaks of sunlight have disappeared behind the rooftops, and darkness has settled over the streets. Oil lamps and flickering torches throw pools of golden light onto the cobblestones. Shadows stretch across the walls, making every alley seem just a little longer than it did an hour ago. For a brief moment, it almost feels peaceful. Then, dong, a deep church bell rolls across the city. A second answers from somewhere farther away. Then another, and another. If you were hoping for a quiet evening, the bells have some disappointing news. Welcome to medieval nightlife. Today, if you want to know the time, you probably reach into your pocket and look at your phone. A medieval city did not have smartphones, smartwatches, or even clocks in most homes. Instead, people listened. The bells told everyone what was happening. Morning, prayer, dinner, curfew, a funeral, a wedding, a fire, an important visitor. Almost every event had its own sound. And because large cities often had dozens of churches, monasteries, and chapels, the bells were almost never completely silent. Imagine standing in the middle of the city square. From the east comes one bell. From the west comes another. Some ring slowly. Others ring quickly. Some have deep voices that seem to shake the ground. Others sound bright and sharp, dancing through the air. It is less like one giant bell, and more like an orchestra where nobody remembered to hand out the same sheet of music. People who lived here learned to understand these sounds without even thinking about them. Just as you might instantly recognize your phone's ringtone, they knew exactly which church was calling. This one is a cathedral. That one is a monastery. Oh, that's St. Mary's. Even without seeing the buildings, they could tell where each sound came from. For visitors, however, it could be wonderfully confusing. Imagine asking someone, "What time is it?" Instead of checking a watch, they simply pause, listen to bells, nod thoughtfully, and say, almost evening prayer. Not exactly the answer your smartwatch would give. The bells also helped organize daily life. Work began with bells. Meals were often connected to bells. Religious services started with bells. Markets opened and closed with bells. Even people who could not read always knew what part of the day. It was simply by listening. In many ways, the city ran on sound. Of course, ringing giant bronze bells was not exactly a quiet hobby. Some bells weighed hundreds or even thousands of kilograms. When they rang, the vibrations traveled to the stone towers, across rooftops, and down narrow streets. People living close to a church probably became experts at sleeping through them. Or maybe they simply gave up trying. Now imagine that several churches decide to ring within minutes of each other. The sound spreads like waves across the city. One bell begins. Another joins. A third follows. The echoes bounce between buildings until it feels as though the entire city is humming. And this is perfectly normal. Nobody rushes outside asking someone to keep the noise down. There are no complaints about disturbing the neighbors, because everyone is hearing the exact same thing. Church bells were not considered noise. They were information. Sometimes they even carried warnings. If a fire broke out, the ringing changed. The pattern became urgent, fast, repeated, impossible to ignore. Fire was one of the greatest dangers in any medieval city. Many buildings were made of timber. Roofs were often covered with straw or wooden shingles, and nearly every family cooked over an open flame. One spark could become a disaster. The bells made sure everyone knew. If enemies approached the city walls, the bells rang again. If an important celebration was happening, more bells joined in. On major religious holidays, the sound could continue for hours. The city became one enormous concert of bronze voices. Not everyone loved it. Imagine trying to have an important conversation. You lean closer. The other person begins speaking. Then, boom, everyone politely waits. The bell finishes. The conversation starts again. A few seconds later, another church joins in. Well, maybe that conversation can wait until tomorrow. Bell ringers themselves had an important job. They climbed narrow staircases inside tall towers, often carrying ropes connected to enormous bells overhead. It could be hard physical work. Pull, wait, pull again, hour after hour. Rain or shine, cold or heat, the bells had to ring. Sometimes people even believed church bells offered protection. Many thought the sound could drive away storms or evil spirits. Whether or not that actually worked is another story. The storms, unfortunately, were not always willing to cooperate. Still, the belief was strong enough that bells became deeply connected to both everyday life and spiritual comfort. As the evening grows darker, the ringing slowly changes. The busy daytime signals become less frequent, but they never disappear completely. From somewhere nearby comes the gentle sound of monks calling one another to evening prayers. Farther away, another church marks the passing hour. A single bell echoes through the streets. Its sound seems larger in the darkness. Without daylight, every noise feels sharper. Every echo lasts a little longer. You notice something interesting. People rarely stop when the bells ring. A woman continues carrying water. A baker keeps stacking loaves of bread. A stable boy brushes down a tired horse. Children still laugh as they race through a nearby alley. Life simply flows around the bells because the bells are part of life itself. To them, silence would actually feel stranger. Complete quiet might even suggest that something had gone terribly wrong. As you continue your evening walk, the ringing finally begins to fade into the background. Not because it has stopped, because your ears are already getting used to it. The bells become another layer in the city's endless soundtrack, joining footsteps, distant conversations, barking dogs, crackling fireplaces, and the occasional cheerful singing drifting from a nearby tavern. The night is still young, and before long, another kind of music will begin to take over the streets. Not the music of churches, but the much louder music of dinner, laughter, clinking mugs, and crowded alehouses.